The Emir of Kano saga has become more confusing in the last few hours, with conflicting orders issued by the Kano State High Court and the Federal High Court. The Kano High Court has granted an order restraining the Department of State Services, the police and the army from evicting the reinstated Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II. The court also restrained the security agencies from harassing or arresting Sanusi and his kingmakers. This followed suit filed by the reinstated Emir alongside the 4 kingmakers of the Kano Emirate. In a significant twist, however, a federal high court granted a counter order directing that Emir Sanusi be evicted from the palace. The court also ordered the police to ensure all rights and privileges due to the 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, be given to him. The court said the ex parte order was made in the interests of justice and maintaining peace in Kano. The suit was adjourned to June 4 for hearing. All right, okay, Rufai. The judiciary, usually yes, it's the judiciary against the executive. Now it's the judiciary and the legislature. So, and then obviously other things happening in Kano State with regards to the State House of Assembly passing the law, I'm saying. And then, of course, the ruling and the ruling against ruling for different sides. Your take on this story?
You know, let's pray for Nigeria. Because, and Father Lord, help this country, save the country from impending madness and doom in our public space. Amen. You know, the madness going on in Kano beats me. Our judiciary have now become a citadel of forum shopping, where you have orders, counter orders here and there. Between Sunday till now, we've had 4 different orders. So what's the future for the common man? I mean, I want us to reason together. And the confusion is so pervasive about the space, about our national space, that even the presidential spokespeople are fighting amongst themselves as regards confusion on orders. So you have Ajuri versus Ononuga, you have Bayero versus Sanusi, and that's where we are today as we celebrate Inauguration Day. And 1 year after, which is also a reflection of the pervasive confusion of the country. So at this point in time, are they going to leave the Kano situation to peter out in courts? Or there's going to have to be some intervention? Because with all of this, tensions are still high. The 2 relatives are still in their palaces. So funny that I hear one is even married to the other one's sister. They're still out there in their palace. The tensions are still high. Emir Bayero has been deposed, but he's not out of town yet. They're still filing court orders here and there. The police and the military are still saying they're still in defense. So what is really going on? I think at some point before the end of this week, something has to give. We can't continue this uncertainty in Kano at this level of madness. The governor must be allowed to lead his state. Whoever the puppeteers are, pulling the strings, should know that this is not good for democracy. And I asked them, if Kano was a state that is in alignment with the APC in the central government, will this happen? When Ganduje deposed Sanusi, and Ganduje was alignment in the center, did we have all of this controversy? Is it because Kano is an opposition state that all of this is happening? Are we going to continue with this level of confusion? And where are the commissions that look at judgments and things like that back and forth? We've been able to establish that the Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction over chieftaincy matters. But this same Federal Government has given 2 court orders. Different courts, and we're seeing different moves from different jurisdictions here and there. So what is going on in Nigeria? And that's why I say, God, I pray for this country so that we don't slip into the abyss of madness. Because increasingly it doesn't look like we have a nation to me. Please, I beg the actors, let us resolve this as soon as possible. This is not nice. It is not fair. We can't make a caricature of our traditional institutions because politicians want to play 10-10 in the public space of shame. and avarice. We cannot allow this happen.
Okay, I said yesterday that this thing called jurisdiction, I offer the definition, even if it's an adjectival definition, but jurisdiction is determined by the courts. So that's not the big issue here. If people have issues with jurisdiction, they go to the courts to plead it. It's not enough to just pronounce jurisdiction into existence. It will be argued on the floor of the court. But I think what is more important in this kind of case is the manner in which the judiciary has been dragged into the matter. When politicians, when power brokers invent their own problems, the judiciary, becomes it gets into the arena. Whereas the principle is that the Judas should not descend into the arena. The judiciary should just pursue the course of justice. In this particular case, we've had 3 different interventions by the courts. The first by Justice Lehman, giving a restraining order. I think the matter is supposed to come up on June 3 for hearing. And that was the initial thing that created controversy. Now, that's a federal high court. Now, you had the state high court of Justice Amina Aliyu also issuing an order saying that Emir Sanusi could not be evicted and that he should remain where he is. Then you have the federal high court, again, through Justice Amobeda, issuing another order, saying that Emir Sanusi should withdraw. So you have a situation whereby, in this matter, you have Section 4, Section 5, Section 6 of the Constitution, all playing roles that have become very controversial, depending on who is living at the matter. But the saddest part of it is the role now being played by the judiciary. And what is the issue here? This shopping for ex parte orders. Now, I thought there was a point in this country when the president of the High Court, particularly, the Federal High Court, had to give practice direction that the abuse of ex parte orders do not do well, do not serve the purpose of the judiciary process. Ex parte orders are in a class of their own, that famous phrase about being sui generis. Now, ex parte orders are ordered when there is an immediate thing where there could be a violation of other people's rights, an emergency. Let's just use simple English. When there is an emergency and the course of justice could be derailed, then the judge will issue an ex parte order, maybe an interlocutory injunction, an interim injunction, just to protect, the course of justice and the rights of the parties that are involved in the matter. But we now got to a point where an ex parte order could be issued at will, nicodemously, even at night, and judges began to dish out, ex parte orders as if penance was being issued out, as was the case in medieval times. And that, I think, does not make the judiciary look good. Number 2 is the conduct of lawyers. These processes are filed by lawyers. Now, the NBA exists. What is the NBA doing? The NBA has legal, privileges and disciplinary committee. Now, these lawyers in Kano, what is the NBA saying about them? Because before a matter goes to the judge, there must be a lawyer who will go and file it. And then you have all kinds of lawyers, who just do the bidding of clients and are not serving the purpose of being officers in the temple of justice. Recently, the National Judicial Council had to sanction judges to even say that some of them will not gain the next promotion because of the way they have conducted themselves. Part of it, some of them who were indicted, was as a result of the issuance of ex parte orders. So I think that the bigger problem here is the role of the Judas, is also the role of lawyers, all these ambulance lawyers. There are ambulance lawyers who are just looking for anything to chase, just to be seen to be working. I think that the NBA must speak up I think that the NJC must also monitor the situation in Kano, very carefully. Beyond this is the security implication. The need to hold the peace in Kano and to ensure that the situation in Kano does not degenerate. It's a chieftaincy matter, Emirate Council law and all of that. But at the end of the day, what ordinary Nigerians should be interested in and what President Tinubu should also be interested in is peace in Kano.
All right, so law enforcement agencies, I actually quite feel a bit sorry for them because I don't know which order they're going to obey with regards to the court orders. Is it the Kano State High Court or the Federal High Court? Because one has given an order to enforce the removal of the Emir, 16th Emir of Kano, that is Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II, whilst another has ordered that it's Emir, the 15th Emir, Aminu Ado Bayero, that should be reinstated. Now, whilst we talk about these things, and it is mind-boggling to say the least, what is on trial here, or what's being made a mockery of, is the justice system of the country. The Kano situation is actually putting up the justice system under a microscope, under light, and unfortunately, it is looking quite bad. And that is why this ought to be addressed. And I'll start from where I said, earlier on, once we talked about the story. The enforcement or the reinstatement of the 16th Emir of Kano came about following a passage of law by the Kano State House of Assembly, which the governor signed into law, and then in terms of enforcing that, the 16th Emir was reinstated. Following this, as it is the right of different parties involved, they approached the courts. And in the court judgments, we've seen, differing court judgments in different sections. And then the law enforcers are then taking sides in the matter, choosing who to obey or what to obey. And these are some of the challenges that we have talked about. And I say this because it doesn't apply to only the Kano State situation. We saw it play out during the elections. We saw it play out during other matters. And we saw a mockery, almost a show of shame in that regard. And we kept talking about the fact that if this isn't sorted, we make a mockery of not just the justice system, but also of democracy in Nigeria. Which way for our democracy? And it's so it's so interesting because today we celebrate 1 year, we acknowledge 1 year of the inauguration of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And one of the key things he said during his speech was that he was going to uphold the rule of law and ensure that during his time, it would be obeyed. So when we look at what's happening in Kano State and what's happening in other parts with regards to judgment, abuse of ex parte orders, it doesn't seem to have happened in the last, under this administration and in different parts of the country. And so this is very critical. And I do believe that the outcome of what's happening in Kano State will speak a lot for not just the justice system in Nigeria, but also for democracy as a whole in Nigeria, where the different arms of government are interfering and opposing one another in terms of, if the point of having three arms of government is to ensure that there are checks and balances and things are fair. But when it becomes a comical, it's almost comical display, then it is quite a shame, and it speaks very negatively for democracy in Nigeria. I'm hoping that sense will prevail, and that the actors will think of the people and not incite the people to violence by the actions of these parties at play. Again, the drama is not yet over. We'll see what will still unfold, but I hope that at the end of the day, some sense will prevail in Kano State.